Hello everyone, Lav Wolf here. My name is Lavender.
And my name is Wolfgang.
And today we are going to be responding to a... yes, unfortunately, we are going to be responding to a PragerU video. You know, I did not think that we could stoop so low. But
Oh boy.
yeah. But yeah, we will be doing a response video to PragerU. I don't the last response video we made was like at the beginning of December, right? With that British guy. No, American guy LARPing as a Brit, right?
Basically,
Yeah. Oh yeah, we still
need to do the part 2. I'm still restoring my brain cells in order to actually get done with it.
But yeah, don't worry. We are eventually going to do finally the part 2 of the video. So for now, we will be reacting to this PragerU video and responding to it. So sit back, relax, already prepare your brain cells to die, and, well, take it away, Dennis.
Imagine a group of people who work to destroy Italy because they claim Italy's origins are illegitimate. Imagine further that these people maintain that of all the countries in the world, only Italy doesn't deserve to exist. And then imagine that these people vigorously deny that they are anti-Italian. Would you believe them? Now substitute Israel for Italy, and you'll understand the dishonesty and absurdity of the argument that one could be anti-Zionist, that is, against the existence of a Jewish state, but not anti-Semitic.
Now, the difference is that an Italian is someone who is from the Italian peninsula in Europe, while a Jew, on the other hand, is someone who follows the Jewish religion. Someone who is a Jew does not automatically mean that they are Israeli. For example, you can have a Jew in Germany who does not have Israeli citizenship. They are still a Jew, but they are not Israeli. That's the difference.
Not only that, for example, you have black Jews, you have white Jews, you have Chinese Jews, you have you can have Jews from literally every race on the planet. What does it make them equal besides religion? And if religion is enough to create a nation, using the same logic, then Catholics should be in the one nation as well. There should be like an entire Catholistan, or Muslims should be in one single nation for some reason. But the ideal, the concept behind Israel is flawed on the fact that the way it justifies itself, following a state for a religion, has very little, is very flawed when you consider what usually defines a nation, like Israel, like Israel as Hebrew, as its official religion, as official language. Sorry, but I don't think that most Jews in the world speak Hebrew. Well, for example, a Jew that is in America even speaks English. Of course, I might be wrong, but in the end of the day, people are individuals. Just because one is a Jew does not mean he's automatically from Israel, and that has been shown in history. Like, just because you are from the same religion doesn't mean you share some common identity or or anything really in common at all. I mean, there's a reason why during World War One, for example, you had Jews fighting on the German side and Jews fighting on the French side in France, for example. They are individuals. They are born into a nation. They just have a religion, like everyone else. They were Catholic Germans fighting in the trenches. They were Protestant French fighting in the trenches. There were Muslim troops in the trenches. They were religions, but the religion is not their nationality. The problem with Israel, though, is that they do exactly that. They consider religion as a nationality, and that is problematic for a variety of reasons. Not only that, but you consider to be anti-Italy as what we're saying the Italians don't have a right quote-unquote right to exist as being anti-Italian. Well, if you know half of Italian history, you would know that Italy is not a unified nation. You have the Kingdom of Two Sicilies in the south, with Neapolitan language, the Tuscan languages, the Venetians. Don't forget in Südtirol, there are Austrians there that speak German, they don't speak Italian. The concept of Italian language that we have is from, if I'm not mistaken, from the north. You know, the Sicilians and the Neapolitans speak very different dialects, so does the Sardinians. Italy was never exactly a nation state never was really a nation state, actually. It was unified in the 19th century, basically by military force under the Vittorio Emanuele III. And to this day, regional differences are still felt. Because in the end of the day, each part of Italy has a long story. For example, Sicily in the medieval ages at some point was under the Normans and later on under the Muslims, while part of the northern Italy was under, for example, the Germans and the Austrians and later the French, and so on, so on. All this history, etc., all these regions are unique on their own. They have a story, like the history is a continuation, like they don't stop existing. The formation of Italy, like quote unquote Italy, the state of Italy, like the idea that a person is an Italian is in the end of the day boils down to being geographical. To say that Italy should not exist as a nation is not being anti-Italian, it's not being not having any prejudice against a person from the Italian peninsula. Don't forget that fact. That's important because inside Italy there are people who also think the same as that. People want to disband Italy as a nation itself, both on the north and the south. While on Israel, on the other hand, we are entering the other realm. Because now there's also the point we are speaking about Zionism and Anti-Semitism. Because don't forget, the land where the Italians live, the Italian peninsula, is inhabited by Italians, at least today. The Italian nation today, has Italians there. They have Italians, as simply a matter of fact, except for the north in the Austrians, but we don't speak about that for the sake of get this done with. However, when Israel was created, the Zionist ideal to form Israel also means that you are creating a nation in a place where you already have people. Because, you can cry as much as you want about the kingdom of Judea 2,000 years ago, but it's a matter of fact that between 2,000 years ago and shortly after World War I, Jews were not a majority in the Middle East, especially in the Levant, aka today's Palestine. And just because you inhabited the territory 2,000 years ago doesn't give you a right to claim it like a millennium after you are just randomly decide to claim it back because you woke up one day. That's an important question that is not even comparable to the Italians. Not to mention that Zionism in itself is different from being anti-Zionism is being different from anti-Semitic, because being anti-Zionist means you are against the establishment of a state. Does not mean you are in favor of prejudice or oppression or genocide or whatever. It's regular prejudice against a certain religion in this case. Because let's face it, the term Semitic does not apply. Is not only about the Jews. Semitic is, there's a lot of races that can be called Semitic today. But regardless, the term has been applied with Jews for some bloody reason. So let's stick with it. Not to mention that, as I said, Jews are not a nationality; they are a religion. I said it before. And what does give the right of a religion to own land? I mean, we had the Crusades for that, I think, and we figured it out long ago. The way that society and humanity, human civilizations, figured out the Jerusalem conflict was about, stop killing each other for a certain territory. And yet, now we are trying to force, because like or not, as I said, many generations, much more generations, more native to the land that live in Palestine before the creation of State Israel, inhabited the region. And they also have a right to that land. You know, a 1,000 years ago, like 1,000 years ago or so, the Romans owned Britannia, owned France, they owned the entirety of Western Europe. Just because they own half of Europe doesn't mean that today, for example, the Italians or any nation that declares itself successor to the Roman Empire has a right to just, hey, we owned this 2,000 years ago, so this is now ours. That's not how things work. You know, if you, for example, Germany lost territory in World War One. You know, they lost East Prussia. Today, the Germans are not do not spend their day claiming that the territory was theirs because they owned it like 50 years ago. You know, or understanding and or the usage of diplomacy has gone beyond we own this land like 3,000 years ago, we need it back. We are in a civilized world where disputes, where we understand how the rule of law and the ownership of land and the rights of nations. And yet, to establish an entire new nation on the foreign soil, with foreign people, using justifications that are outdated by even by 19th century standards. Because if we use 19th century, the Conference of Berlin, for example, when it comes to the carving up of Africa, the historical claims such as discovery or previous inhabitants were discarded when it comes to the claim of territory. And if we uphold the legality of any of those conferences that were agreed by most of basically the entirety of the civilized world, Israel doesn't really have a right. Now, is it saying that Israel as a nation doesn't have a right, or better saying, does not make sense to exist, and doesn't have a right to do what they wish with the natives, that to segregate them and suppress the native Palestinians if they wish, just because they were 2,000 years ago? No, of course not. I mean, anti-Semitism is very different. Not to mention that, don't forget, anti-Semitism has a very important connotation with some important events on the 20th century. And it's undeniable that everyone, when this subject comes up, it's undeniable that feelings and the one personal emotions more often are the arguments rather than any logic. And by any definitions of dictionary, to be an anti-Zionist is far, but very far, from being anti-Semitic. Not only that, but it's also easily disproven by the very fact that there are Jews who are anti-Zionists. You can argue that they are a minority. You can argue all day about if they are the majority or not. That doesn't matter. There's an exception. Meaning, I wouldn't even say the exception. You cannot say every X equals B, when in reality, not every X equals B. If at least one X doesn't equal B, then your argument is pretty fucked up to begin with, because it's logically flawed. It's a logical fallacy. And so, in the end of the day, let's see what you have to say more, because I think I already did my point pretty good here.
But that is precisely what anti-Zionists say. They argue that Israel's existence is illegitimate. They don't believe this of any other country in the world, no matter how bloody its origins. And then they get offended when they're accused of being anti-Semitic.
Well, for once, checkmate, libtard. I'm also against the existence of Italy and Germany as unified states, and also as of Israel. So your logic doesn't work with me, Mr. Dennis.
As well as with me, because I am also against, for example, the unification of Yugoslavia or the restoration of the USSR. So basically the same thing.
Exactly.
How can they make this argument? First, they change the topic. They say it's unfair to charge those who merely criticize Israel with being anti-Semitic. But criticism of Israel is fine. Denying Israel's right to exist isn't. Anti-Zionism isn't criticism of Israel. Anti-Zionism is opposition to Israel's existence.
Not necessarily. So, just because you are anti-Zionist does not necessarily mean that you are against the creation of a Jewish state in general. It just means that you are also opposed to the creation of a Jewish state in the Holy Land, specifically Palestine, where there are already people who settle there, who are natives to the land, and now you're trying to settle all these new people and create a relative majority there. There is plenty of land around the world which is pretty much unsettled and still around the same size as today's Israel. So you could basically make a Jewish state, for example, in these unsettled lands. Like, that would be perfectly fine. But creating a Jewish state on top of a land where there are already native people there and trying to make it this pure Jewish state for Jewish people is another thing.
Zionism is the name of the movement that advocates for the return of Jews to their historic homeland. Over the past 3,000 years, there were only two independent states located in what is called Israel. Both were Jewish states, and invaders destroyed both. No Arab or Muslim or any other country ever existed in that land, which was only named Palestine by the Romans to remove all memory of the Jewish state they destroyed in the year 70.
Well, over we have basically 3 points that Mr. Dennis did, which was the Zionism movement that advocates for the return of Jews to their historical homeland, the fact that over the past 3,000 years there were only two independent states located in today's Israel before Jewish states and invaders destroyed them, apparently, and no Arab or Muslim or any other country ever existed in the land which was only named Palestine by the Romans to remove all the memory of the Jewish state they destroyed. Let's start by the first point. What is an historical homeland, and to what extent does a nation have a right to an historical homeland? I mean, we can use basically the concept of a definition, the dictionary concept, I guess, which is the concept of a place where a cultural, national, or racial identity had form. However, when we look at the dictionary definitions, we all can notice that they don't really mention religion. And the idea of a Jewish state, well, the name which we says it, is a state around religion. So, in the end of the day, we have to question, what is this historical homeland? What is the right Israel with? The legality. Because, you can have all the rights to everything. You can claim all the things, but international law is a thing. All this historical homeland, the international law doesn't really, as far I know, I may be wrong, correct me if I am, but international law does not really cover nations demanding territory on the basis of historical homeland, which is the same thing that Israel has basically been doing in the basic pillars of Israel. I mean, international law applies to everyone. After all, I think that's common sense. Why shouldn't it apply as well to Israel and to the foundations of their state? The second point is over the past 300 years, of course. And well, I did a bit of research. For once, in the past 300 years, we had the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians were the Phoenician people, which were very known to be the traders. They went as far as Iberia. They were from the Levant, and they went as far as Iberia, as far as Italy. They went through the entire Mediterranean. They were the first great mercantile empire. The Phoenician dominion lasted from around 2500 BC to 64 BC, so relatively within the time frame. And another example is the Nabataean Kingdom in the 3rd century. The Nabataean Kingdom was a kingdom mostly made up of Arab Nabataeans, which were ancient Arab people. Of course, both of these realms do not fully take on the entirety Like if you place a map, pick a map of Nabatea or the Phoenicians, they do not feel the entirety of today's Israel. But the thing is, the borders of what we call Israel, which in the ancient period was called Judea, are very different from today's borders. That's why I would say I usually use the term Levant, the Levant, which includes mostly of the Judea, parts of Sinai, which usually more it basically was a common region, because the region as that the Levant as a whole was a more representative of, for example, the nations that were there, the Gauls, for example. Because in the end of the day, people wanted the entirety of the Levant, the Jews included. It was a fertile region. It was a rich region in resources with good farming center. Like the Egyptians wanted them, the Greeks wanted them, and everyone wanted that region. And the Jews tried to create their own nation in a land which was constantly everyone wanted because of its natural resources. Regardless to say, Judea, I'm not sure about the second attempts, but if I'm not mistaken, the latest attempt of Judea, of a Jewish state in antiquity, was under the Romans. Well, Judea technically became independent in 140 BC with the Asmonean dynasty, and was only annexed directly by Rome in the year 63 BC. Which, as you can see, conflicts a lot with the superficial concepts, like the superficial claims. I should say that Dennis Prager said, after all, is just tossed ideas around without ever checking them. However, if I second Google search into a Wikipedia page that literally is named political entities in the land of Israel, is going to show you that it's going to disprove this point very easily. And finally, there's Dennis Prager completely retarded point. No Arab or Muslim or any other country exists in this land before it was named Palestine by the Romans. After they destroyed it, of course, for some bloody reason. So, okay. As I said before, this is a lie. The Nabataean Kingdom were ancient Arab people, and they existed in the lands that are today Judea. Not only that, there were the Phoenicians. And I should even go further to say that the Jewish state was not destroyed. First of all, I should say that the Romans did not change the name from Judea to Palestine to destroy the Jews. I mean, after all, Judea was a Roman province, as I said, since the year 6 CE. It was under direct Roman rule from there on. Before it had been ruled by Roman client states. And in the year 132 CE, Emperor Adrian, he decided to unite the province of Judea with Galilee and Paralia. And in doing so, he formed the province of Syria Palestina. This was an administrative. The name we can go into a long discussion. But regardless to say, it's probably that the name came from the trend of Romanization of the Romans. And no, that was not just because they wanted to destroy the Jewish state. As everyone knows, the Romans Romanized everybody. That's why there are Roman roads in Spain and in France. That's why Latin is one of the lingua franca of Europe. It was, I mean, of course, I'm not going to deny that the Jewish rebellions definitely had to play a part. But you have to understand that the Romans did not really give a shit about the minorities, as in the sense of we need to destroy their identity. Like, for the Romans, the important thing was, as long as they were did not, I'm not say even say loyal, as long as they did not bother us, let them do whatever they wish. That's pretty much the Roman policy around everywhere. Like, the Romans did sack Jerusalem during revolt. That's not, however, they did not sack Jerusalem and destroy everything just because they were fighting the Jews and wanted to remove the Jews or whatever. They did it because that was what everyone did at the time, common military tactics. That's quite a natural thing. It just happened that the target was a Jewish rebellion. And you should know that no matter who, even if it were, I don't know, Gaul or Britannian rebels, the Romans would have probably done the same, even if not worse. Because don't forget, Judea and the Levant were very rich lands for the Roman Empire. And the Romans want to meddle as less as possible in order to not interfere with the economy, which allowed them to increase the payment of the legions by incredibly. That's the important part. And Mr. Prager definitely does not have his historical facts correct here.
Second, anti-Zionists claim they can't be anti-Jewish because Zionism has nothing to do with Judaism. That's equally false. It is the same as saying Italy has nothing to do with being Italian. Judaism has always consisted of three components: God, Torah, and Israel. If Israel isn't part of Judaism, neither is the Bible or God.
Now, for the first point, that Judaism is inseparable from Zionism, it depends on from what perspective you are viewing it. For example, Zionism cannot exist without Judaism. That is common logic. Without Judaism, Zionism cannot exist. But Judaism can exist without Zionism. That's the fucking thing. For example, in the Middle Ages, Zionism did not exist. For example, the entire time before Zionism even existed, you had Jews who, practiced still their religion, like they were still Jews. Judaism existed, but Zionism didn't. That's the difference. Zionism cannot exist without Judaism, but Judaism as a religion can exist without Zionism.
Yes, not only that, he also speaks about he tries to justify Israel to the more religious thing, a religious aspect. And in that case, we have to ask ourselves, to what point is this tolerable? Because you see, one of the points it does is that Judaism, like Israel, is the holy promised land of Jews, etc., etc., whatever. However, Israel is also it's a sacred place for Catholics and for Muslims. And this place was, don't forget, there was a lot of wars over this place. And how did these wars end? How did those conflicts between end? Because don't forget, the Crusades are characteristic of the medieval ages. But we don't really have the Crusades, going to take Jerusalem in the 18th century or 19th century. Don't forget that. And the reason why is pretty simple. The greatest achievement of the Crusades was not taking Jerusalem militarily. The greatest achievement of the Crusades was reaching agreements with the Muslims, which in the end of the day were basically recognizing that the Muslims owned the land. But in turn, the Muslims protected Christian pilgrims. They allowed Christians to visit the holy sites. A Christian shouldn't be afraid to visit the holy sites. That was the greatest achievement of the Crusades. And after the medieval ages, through the entirety of history until the 20th century, that idea, deal, quote unquote, where the Muslims were holding the lands, but the Christians were allowed to go to them to practice their religion called their pilgrims. That has been as natural as the day you are born, basically, when it comes to European and to Christian and Muslim diplomacy. You didn't need Christians to invade the whole Jerusalem and basically make it a Catholic state, for example, or the Muslims expelling all the Catholics. No, that didn't need to happen. Basically, yeah, we can even use the term nations. Yeah, but not being exactly the most accurate. I guess it is the better perspective of the situation. You simply recognize you cannot take this land. If it's simply impossible. You cannot do it. And what you do? Okay, we cannot take it. Sure, we accept that you are here, but we, of course, we want a religious presence, and that's basically all thing went. It was good. And that's how civilized nations, they work with each other. When there is a problem like this is the solution. Civilized nations with laws, nations with intellectuals, with nations with an actual history, progress, etc. The thing is over here is that Israel, more exactly what Dennis is trying to is Dennis basically propagated this idea that in order for the Jews to be able to have basically to have the same things that the Christians did, to go to their religious sites, because of their religion. Not to have it's basically trying to say that their entire religion depends on owning this piece of land, which is not true to begin with. And as you can, this for already, as I said, it breaks completely with traditional diplomacy. This breaks imagine two grown adults. One is a Christian world, and another is the Muslim world. They fight a bit over a piece of land. Imagine they come to an agreement. Let's say not a piece of land, say a car. Let's say the Muslims say, I own the car, but you can use the car. And the Christian agrees. Everything's fine. But then the teenager nephew, which is like in his 18, is like this turned 18, and is like this EP barista comes in, steals a key card, gets into the car, and said he needs the car to survive, and gives the middle finger to the other two. This is the type, basically, comparison we can make here, because this concept that is being propagated here is childish. Civilization has advanced so far from these questions were solved ages ago, centuries. The way diplomacy work has gone so further in the. This has been behind us for so long. It is truly amazing how he's trying to push this backward and idea to justify this. And then we have to get into another question. To what extent do we allow this to happen? Well, a religion claims the certain territory as their own, are entitled to have that territory. What about the people under them? There are important questions here. It's of course Zionism has left, did not even mention. And what's the? We have to see what is the limit. Is this a stop? There are a lot of important questions that Israel, because Israel, I would say that Israel is not just a question about a Jewish state. It's a question about international law as a whole, and how the world has progressed in terms of diplomacy and the rule. Because every nation agrees to a set of common rules, even though they are not written. Israel breaks with this. For example, Israel basically bombs in the sovereign nations and occupies their territory like nothing, like it was like a walk in the park. Imagine France doing that to Germany. Israel poses an important question in regards to some very basic ideals that the entire civilized world, we created, and so basic ideals that are basic pillars of, for example, Europe as a civilization, as a center of the world, that are being put in question with the evacuation of Israel, and that we need to start reflecting more about them, because today, maybe the West Bank today. But what is when do you is just because the religion say? I think you all can understand my point. And this is very dangerous, and I think people should be speaking more about this question, beyond the whole Jewish and whatever. This legal and this diplomatic and these questions, I guess, that we need to have a discussion about them more often, and more people need to speak about them.
Third, anti-Zionists claim that Judaism is only a religion, therefore Jews are only members of a religion, not a nation. But the Jews are called a nation more than 100 times in the Bible. That is why there can be irreligious, secular, and even atheist Jews. because Jews are not only a religion, they're also a people or a nation. There are no atheist Christians because Christianity is only a religion.
No. No, that's not true. For example, Jews are a religious group. They are not a nation or people. For example, I could right now convert to Judaism. That would, by very definition, make me a Jew because I believe in the religion of Judaism. Same goes for a German, a Magyar, or a Pole, French person, a Russian, a Chinese, Japanese. Name any culture on this planet, and they can convert to Judaism. And now, the only thing these people have in common is a religion. The culture and attitudes of a German Jew are going to be vastly different from, let's say, a Jew from Malaysia. And while you could argue that the only other thing they could have in common is the Hebrew language, but that is still a very debatable. At the end of the day, it's still a religious group. These people have pretty much nothing in common. Like, if I convert to Judaism, that doesn't suddenly change my ethnicity. That doesn't instantly invalidate me being a Bosniak and suddenly, oh, I am Israeli, I am Jewish now just because I changed my faith. That's not how that works.
Not only that, just because your book says you are a nation, doesn't mean you are a nation on the eyes of the law. Don't forget, the legal definition of a nation doesn't give two craps about what your religious text says. The definition laws are made with the intent to be as impartial as humanly possible. That's why we have very few exceptions That's why there are very few exceptions in laws, and that's why laws are pretty much almost universal, like very basic laws, And in the eyes of the international law, because when we are speaking about international laws, we are speaking about, for example, the agreements that have been created, that notions, more exactly, I would say, notions that nations have of what the state is, of the nation is, what the people is, were built throughout centuries, throughout civilizations, throughout countless philosophers, countless scholars spoke about them, countless professors and archaeologists study such nations, etc. And the law is based on empirical evidence, yes, and on most importantly, on an objective, impartial, and universal concept. And for something to be universal, it cannot have exceptions. If I decide to start a religion today, and for somehow I get 3,000 followers, and I say I am a nation, and my land is fucking London, that doesn't give me a fucking right to own London. The international law doesn't give a shit of if I have 1, 10, a billion supporters. They don't give a shit because I am not a nation. My religion is not a nation. There was that religious communes in South America back in the 60s of the hippies. They were not nations. They acted as independent communes, that's for sure. But they were not considered never nations. That's why micronations are not considered nations. International law doesn't give a shit about your book. And you can cry all day long. You can bring all the verses you want and you can imagine out of your bloody ass. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for the international law. And most importantly, doesn't matter for me, a Catholic, nor matters for a Muslim. And guess what? You cannot force down laws that only your people believe in, that are subjective to your group of people, and apply them to a group of people that even rejects them. Because if you do that, you're having a totalitarian dipshit. and of course oppressive. Not that much different from the Chinese, of course, but I doubt that's something that Dennis likes to accept as a fact.
Fourth, the anti-Zionists claim that Israel is illegitimate because it is racist. This is the fraudulent charge Israel haters and America haters make against two of the least racist societies in the world. Half of Israel's Jews are not even white, and anyone of any race or ethnicity can become a Jew. Plus, 1 of 5 Israelis isn't a Jew. And these Israeli citizens, mostly Arab Muslims, have the same rights as Jewish Israelis. As for Israel's control of the West Bank, that has nothing to do with race. Israel doesn't control the West Bank because Palestinians are of another race, but because Palestinians and their Arab allies tried to destroy Israel in 1967, and they lost the war. Palestinians have rejected offers to found their own state on 5 separate occasions since 1947. That's the only reason they don't have a state. And why have they always rejected building a Palestinian state? Because they have always been more interested in destroying the Jewish state.
Now, I'm not sure whether Mr. Dennis Prager noticed, but he kind of just debunked himself. He pretty much just stated that that not all Jews or Israelis are white, that there are different races as well. I'm pretty sure that automatically disproves his previous argument that Jews are actually a nation, the people, rather than a religious group. I'm pretty sure that if you say that Jews are more than one race, there are more races, that kind of indicates that they are more of a religious group rather than one which have a culture in common.
Basically. Not only that, well, let me make this clear for everyone. I'm not the type of person who throws the racist label around like an idiot. But let's not try to ignore things. Like, compared to most, let's use Europe as a comparison. The United States is kind of racist, there's slightly kinda. Of course, I'm not saying the United States is inherently a racist nation, but it is no way close, not remotely close, to be one of the least racist nations in the world. That is just true, my friends, because Denmark is a thing. Anyway, not only that Israel has been literally pushing towards segregation. Really, you're gonna tell me that the Jewish supremacist state, which actively wants to push out the natives in order to make way for a Jewish, you're gonna really tell me with a serious face that wouldn't be racist? The fact that you call yourself chosen people kind of reminds me of a certain Mr. Schmittler from over a period next to over here, if you catch my meaning. But not only that, now he also speaks about the whole thing about the West Bank and destroy Israel. First of all, why did the Arab world try to destroy Israel? First of all, no, they did not want to destroy the Jewish state. They want to end, not even destroy, end the Israeli state. It was not a question about, hey, they are Jews, we want to kill them. No. If Israel was made of Catholics, if Israel was made of Buddhists, if any other religion, there will be the same thing. You know why? Because, first of all, you have to remember that in the Middle East, there is, especially during the wars against Israel, there's a strong sense of Arabism and unity in the region. Like, Arabs saw themselves very close to each other. And they attack Israel for a very basic reason. Because Israel was quite literally taking over parts, occupying half of Palestine. And as you can imagine, Arabs did not like that. And of course, they wanted to restore Palestine. Now, the West Bank was not. Also, don't forget, Miss Prager, that Israel did not took the West Bank from the Palestinians. They took the West Bank from the Jordanians. And don't forget that before that, Israel. Not even actually. I shouldn't even go that further. Like Israel has been trying to they basically illegally annexed the West Bank, even though they promised the King Hussein they wouldn't. Not only that, they quite literally plotted with the bloody fucking British during the Suez Crisis, the British and the French. But I'm not gonna judge. Sorry, I'm not gonna do. Well, anyway, to quite literally invade the oil-rich Sinai Peninsula, while the French and British took the Suez Canal. And the only reason the Israelis left was because Big Daddy Americans, for the first one of the few times in their fucking history, decide to say, no, you cannot do that. You are being a bad boy. Don't you forget that detail. Not only that, today Israel acts as if they were... Like, first of all, if France was occupying the Rhineland for half a decade, how do you think the Germans would react? And I have some insight for you, Mr. Dennis. Because in real life, the Allies occupied Germany, the Rhineland, for less than 5 years or so. And we saw what happened in Germany. Now, you're gonna tell me that occupying the West Bank for half a decade is gonna be any different. Don't forget, human beings are still human beings. In questions of when you get into sociology, they are not very different. Sociology, not psychology, sorry. They are not very different in their responses to similar threats. And for the Palestinians, the West Bank occupation and the occupations overall are quite literally the occupation of the Rhineland, but one that has been lasting for over 50 years and without any foreseeable future. Not to mention that is, despite Israel saying they are not annexing the land, they are evicting the Palestinians from the region. They are sending the colonialists in the area, which, as you might think, doesn't sit well with the Palestinians for some reason. You know, you are acting pretty. You are trying to. Israel is acting as if literally as the cartoon villain version of the Treaty of Versailles on the Palestinians. And then they are wondering why the Nazis are 20 times as crazier. That might tell you something. And also, finally, about the peace treaties. Yes, they rejected it. And you know why, Dennis? Because maybe people... there's a saying that Marshal Antonescu of Romania had. I'd rather live in the swamp of Great Romania than in the paradise of small Romania. And replace Romania with Palestine. And that's exactly the feeling of the Palestinians. Their homes, their territory was stolen. They have been segregated. They've been basically treated as a mere third-class citizens. You cannot even call them second class, because second class are the Muslims who have Israeli citizenship. And they want their state back. And every peace offer that the Israelis gave is very bad for the Palestinians. But don't forget, Mr. Prager, the peace agreements that the Palestinians agreed to, remember, in the 1950s, there was this Swedish diplomat which helped save Jews from the concentration camps, who drafted a proposal for a two-state solution, which the Palestinians were friendly towards to. And then what happened to him? He got shot by an Zionist radical. Why? Because his plan, as you can think, was slightly, just maybe some fucking possibility in the realm in the world, slightly less Israel-centric and more fair.
Finally, the anti-Zionists claim that Israel's origins are illegitimate. Of all the world's 200-plus countries, the only country anti-Zionists declare illegitimate is also the only Jewish one. That's pretty much all you need to know about their motives. Why, for example, don't they make this claim about Pakistan? In 1947, 9 months before the establishment of Israel, India was partitioned into a Muslim state, Pakistan, and a Hindu state, India. Unlike Israel, Pakistan had never existed before. Unlike Israel's founding, which created about 700,000 Jewish refugees from Arab lands and about 700,000 Arab refugees from what became Israel, the founding of Pakistan created about 7 million Muslim refugees from India and about 7 million Hindu refugees from Pakistan. And while the highest estimate of Arab deaths in the fighting that took place when Israel was established is 10,000, the number of deaths as a result of Pakistan's creation is around 1 million.
Well, Mr. Dennis, as probably you know, since you are so cultured on the ways of the hearts and of the politics, you should be aware of what we call a pattern of arguments that is commonly named as appeal to motive, which is, as you probably should know, an informal fallacy. As you probably should know, this informal fallacy is basically it consists of challenging a thesis, not by actually providing any counterpoint, any counter argument, or any counter what the fuck you could even dream of, but by simply calling into question the motives of its proposer. It simply consists of trying to discredit the person who puts forward thesis without ever addressing it. And that is fucking dishonest. And even fucking more hypocrite from a guy who acts as if he was fucking Julius Caesar. Oh wait, not Julius Caesar. I mean, the bastard son. Because Julius Caesar had actually balls. Regardless. Yes, Dennis Prager, what happened in Pakistan was pretty bad. However, as you probably know, Pakistan, of course, I do not know, I'm not exactly that cultured. But I may have a slight idea that by the amount of news that I hear, I don't think that, first of all, there is a large population of Pakistanis today, of Hindus today in Pakistan being actively repressed and tossed out of their territories and colonized. I mean, I guess Kashmir is, okay, fair point. But if we do not count Kashmir, of course, but like in Pakistan proper. And second, yes, we agree. The partition of India was shit. But guess what, Dennis? Guess what? The guys who partitioned in India were also the guys who tried to create Israel, the British, and they fucked up on both. One guy is able to criticize the other. You know? And I will. Both solutions were shit. You know? And of course, if one points out that most likely these people are going to find some other way to try to put in question your credibility, not the credibility of your argument as an actual logical, logical point, but your personification. Because in the end of the day, when they run out of arguments, what do they resort to? Is to call you a fucking Nazi. So yeah, Mr. Prager, I can do that game as well. Because you call yourself the chosen people. And you are a fucking Nazi. Because at this point, who cares? Anti-Semitism, Anti-Zionism. At this point, we just call it the same thing. And everyone is fucking tired. Because no one cares anymore. And this is what you created, my friend. Because you are a fucking retard that cannot even understand the basic concept that in the Indian subcontinent, there's this thing called there are a few more million amounts of people than there is in the fucking Palestine, genius. And you have like 12 more people to rule over, you're gonna have more people are gonna die. If Israel, instead of the Israel population was like 3 billion larger, guess what? The number of deaths will be just some fucking slightly larger. Just maybe. And allegedly. Because, oh no, maybe he's gonna sue me. Because guess what? Dennis defends freedom of expression for everyone. Except for anyone who criticizes him. Anyone who criticizes Israel, anyone who criticizes his idea. Because in the end of the day, Dennis Prager calls himself an American. It's just like Ben Shapiro. The same group. They call themselves American. But who do they defend first and foremost? It is not America. Why? Because they know that America is a fucking bank. America is like child's play that basically keeps. And I'm not being a conspiracy theorist. Everyone knows that if it was not for America, Israel would have been gone ages ago. Everyone knows that. Don't fuck with it. And everyone knows that the Americans are always injecting money in Israel. I mean, I'm not saying before anyone says it, because I always know that someone's gonna say it. I am not a fucking Nazi, not any conspiracy theory. No, the Americans have interests in having Israel, their ally in the region. Not everything is a fucking conspiracy theory about Jews ruling the world. I'm not on that side of the brain dead category. But we cannot deny that Israel, from a very early age, understood that they could exploit this American goodwill very easily. And Ben Shapiro, Dennis Prager, and all the lot are simply pawns that are contributing to this very toxic relation in which the US has been basically spending billions of money to sustain a state that doesn't even admit that has nuclear weapons. A state that has been acting like. Just imagine if fucking Germany acted like Israel did. Oh wait, they actually did do that in World War II. An entire world gang raped them. But for some reason, we all close our eyes when a nation like Israel does the same thing. This is not about being anti-Semite, it's not about anything. This is a question of being fair. If we criticize Turkey for invading northern Syria, why don't we do the same when bloody Israel moves in the Golan Heights? I know that a lot of a lot of people are making shit ton of money because of this partnership. After all, every year the US sends money to Israel, and every year, guess what? Israel buys a shit ton of American guns from American corporations, which make a shit ton of money off the salary of the public person. Isn't that an amazing situation? But of course, they know that, and of course, in the way they always benefit from that. Because do you think Dennis Prager works out of his goodwill? Do you think Shapiro works out of his goodwill? Do you think any of them work out of this goodwill? Of course they don't. Of course they don't. That would be childish to say. They're simply pushing a narrative of their own. They're pushing their own interests, private interests, of course. And religion, Israel, is nothing more than a tool. Israel is the perfect corruption center. People always complain about the Swiss banks, the Panama documents. Look at Israel, my friend. The US injects money, and everyone makes money except the people who actually pay the taxes. And until the day that the entire world stops treating Israel as this fucking special needs boy, because like it or not, the world only does that because of the United States currently is trying to rule. I mean, basically, the United States still is the wannabe superpower. Until the day we stop acting like we are America's bitches and we start actually doing, being fair when we apply laws and shit, it's the day these things are gonna stop. But meanwhile, of course not. Meanwhile, we're gonna have to suffer with this crap because this is nothing more than propaganda. I mean, you're gonna tell me that Dennis Prager had nothing to do on the evening night that wasn't like make this horrible sack of shit of a video. You're even gonna tell me with a straight face. You're not gonna straight me that he just decided to do this video because of course it is. Like, no one that is actually anti-Israel is gonna watch this video and be, oh, I was wrong. No, of course not. It's simply to feel a cycle where the guys who constantly go view his videos, because in the end, the views are from the same people. There is no new public. It's the same public. He's feeding them, it's a bloody machine, basically a machine with that, feeding them again and again, the same content, the same propaganda. So their minds are basically set. They're basically designing their minds, And you know why? Because guess what? With a new generation, because right now my generation, our generation actually, me and mine and the one that we our generation is stupid as shit. Our generation are idiots. And I don't mean everyone is an idiot, of course, and blah blah blah. But the majority of us are idiots. That is undeniable. And guess what? Next generation are gonna even be worse. And idiots make horrible decisions. And the greatest thing about democracy that everyone praises is that everyone can vote. And you know why they want everyone to vote? Especially nowadays, they want to make the voting age even lower. You know why? The more stupid the voter is, the longer they were gonna make money, the longer they were gonna suck off taxes, the longer this circle is gonna end. It's gonna continue. And while the American conservatives suck off these leeches, these corrupt bastards, nothing's gonna change.